Hello, 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 and welcome to the Parker's Couch. I'm Cameron Parker, and I'm here to talk some TV with you today. I know I haven't been doing videos lately, but I'm back on the grind, so let's get going. July is always an interesting month for me because the NBA playoffs, they've been done, run through. The season has happened. The draft has already happened. We're waiting for football and everything to start. There's some beautiful tennis tournaments I love, like Wimbledon, which is going on now, which kind of occupies my time. I don't watch much baseball, and that's getting into that All Star break, and that's going to have the little lull and stuff going there. You're like, what do I watch on TV? It's a time to really catch up on stuff. There's usually some blockbuster movies and stuff going out. Um, there's not a lot of new programming that usually comes out at this time. You're kind of waiting for the next seasons to roll around, but there are a few things that do start. Like TV has kind of changed in that landscape of what comes out in the summer. But a lot of times you're left questioning, what am I watching or what I'm gonna watch? So I'm gonna start doing some series of what's on my couch, what's going on, what I'm paying attention to. Some of the things me and my brother are watching together, some of the things we watch separately. But I'm gonna share with you the things that I have either previously just recently watched or things I am currently watching and things I'm looking forward to watching. And I'm gonna start off with Netflix. We're going to be talking about Netflix shows today. And I don't know where you are, but I'm in Washington, D.C., honey, and it is hot, hot, hot. Please fan me off. Got the AC blowing, going. Make sure you got your water. The water is important right now. We've been having heat indexes to up to 110 degrees. So make sure you are in the house and you got your TV going. Put on that Netflix and let's see what's going on, y'all. All right. So for me, let's talk about first what I have just finished watching. I'm going to go through a handful of shows that I recently finished and a couple of movies that I recently finished on Netflix. I'm going to start off with Your Honor, and I'm going to read some of the synopsis of some of these things. But Your Honor, I believe it previously aired on Showtime. My brother was always telling me, you have got to watch this show. It's like, it's so good, it's so good. And I remember seeing a couple of episodes before whenever it first came out. But for some reason I didn't stick with it. It wasn't like it was bad or anything, but basically, Your Honor, the short synopsis here on IMDb says a judge confronts his convictions when his son is involved in a hit and run that embroils an organized crime family. Um, yes, it has my man Brian Cranston. I fell in love with Brian Cranston from Malcolm in the Middle. And that's when I was like, okay, this is my guy. And then when Breaking Bad happened, I'm like, yes, all right, Brian Cranston is the man. And he does no wrong in Your Honor as well. Phenomenal. Phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal. This makes me want to go back and watch Breaking Bad. It is now on Netflix, and there are two seasons. I've been reading that a third season is supposed to be coming out for this show. So I hope that is true and that it continues. The synopsis or the storyline goes, Brian Cranston stars as a New Orleans judge who is forced to confront his own deepest convictions when his son is involved in a hit and run that embroils an organized crime family. As a storm of vengeance, lies, and deceit threatens to engulf the entire city, Michael Desiato faces a series of increasingly impossible choices and discovers just how far an honest man would go to save his son's life. This show, it takes you on so many rides, so many journeys, and just to see the corruption down there in New Orleans that's on the show, like you think about it with real life. And I'm like, I bet some of this stuff happens. Of course, a lot of it is made up for TV and drama, but you can see how some of these scenarios might come about. But what would you do, y'all, if your son was involved in a hit and run and you find out about it and you're taking him down there to the police station to turn him in, but you find out that he just hit and killed the son of the biggest drug dealer or the biggest organized crime leader in the city. And you know what he would do. You know that he would kill your son. And you're a judge. So can you figure out a way to get him out of this? It's a decision that one that you will have to wrestle with morally right there. And that Brian, the character he plays, Michael, definitely does wrestle with as a judge. But the decisions that he makes and the people that he pulls in into this web of lies, it just continues to unravel into a chaotic ending to season two, where it all comes full circle. There's so many layers here, so much to go into. I don't want to ruin the show, but I highly, highly, highly recommend that you watch Your Honor if you haven't already. And if you're into that type of show of organized crime and in that situation, that sort of drama filled show, trust me, you will not be bored. So highly, highly recommend. Another show that I just finished is Sweet Tooth. So I don't know if people watch Sweet Tooth. Now, this is like a show. Sometimes you need a show where you don't have to really think. You don't need to invest so much. It can kind of just be owned and you're doing whatever you need to do. Sweet Tooth was kind of that show for me. And this series just wrapped up. They came out with their final season. I believe it's on June 6th that it came out. And I did continue to watch this season. It was 3 seasons, I want to say. I believe that's accurate. I believe it was 3 seasons, 3 or 4. I think 3. And so the storyline here was 10 years ago, the Great Crumble wreaked havoc on the world and led to the mysterious emergence of hybrids, babies born part human and part animal. Unsure if hybrids are the cause or the result of the virus, many humans fear and hunt them. After a decade of living safely in a secluded forest home, a sheltered hybrid deer boy named Gus, who's played by Christian Convery, or Convery, I don't know how to say his last name, unexpectedly befriends a wandering loner named Jeopard, who's played by Nanso Anazai, I believe. Together, they set out on an extraordinary adventure across what's left of America in search of answers about Gus' origins, Jeopard's past, and the true meaning of home. But their story is full of unexpected allies and enemies, and Gus quickly learns the lush, dangerous world outside the forest is more complex than he ever could have imagined. Now, this show, like I said, it's not one to be really looking for something groundbreaking or something going on. It's really just it's a solid story to me, and it really talks about. You can look at it in today's world of how people are kind of distrusting of things that are not like them, of outsiders, or you can relate this to so many things about like being gay or being black or being whatever it is that you could place your hybrid situation in the shoes of Gus. And you have all these kind of preconceived notions of the world, and then you experience what the world really is and how everybody's coming for you. Now, the journey is interesting. There were many times I was like, Gus, I don't know, child. I don't know if I'd be able to keep you alive. And you was getting on my nerves a lot, Mr. Gus. But he is a super important hybrid who may have the answers to everything that's going on. And you can kind of see the story from the human perspective too. Like if there's this virus coming out and it's killing everybody, and then now all the babies that are being born in the world are born as hybrids, and you're like, wait, what's going on here? And you're like, are the hybrids the cause of this? Is there a cure within them? Do we need to get rid of the hybrids to protect ourselves? Or what's happening? And it's very interesting how you learn that Mother Nature is just kind of like taking this course on a human. So, it is a critique on how we live as humans, how we live in this world, and how Mother Nature, it may take a course and get rid of us. So it has a storybook ending Beautiful ending to it. But just a enjoyable story. I thought it was very, very enjoyable. Nice drama, fantasy, sci-fi, just to kind of relax out to and not think too much about. So I would recommend that if you're into that type of thing. The next thing that I watched recently and finished, my brother and I actually watched this together, was Dancing for the Devil, the 7M TikTok code. So if you haven't seen this on Netflix yet, we did watch this in June. So Dancing with the Devil, the TikTok cult, is about TikTok dancers who join a management firm tied to a church, uncovering disturbing truths about the founder's sinister agenda. Now they really follow these two sisters in the story, and these two sisters wanted to be dancers, and they were in it together, and they go through their journey of trying. Well, one sister is talking, the other sister gets in the cult, so we don't really hear from her at all. But the one sister is talking about their journey and what it is, what the pretty much what it's like to go through that journey and trying to become dancers nowadays, and how the social media following and all this is important. They moved out to LA. Long story short, the other sister gets connected with this top dancer. And that's the thing, this cult had a lot of top dancers, like known dancers and people all over TikToks with millions and millions of followers. But she gets connected to this dancer who becomes her boyfriend, who introduces her to this church, which is this cult. And you find out these inner working layers of how the church is really taking advantage of these people, and they end up shutting them off from family, from life, from all outsiders. It's a whole chaotic, crazy journey. I really felt so bad for. There was another pair of sisters in there that the story really uncovers, who were in the cult for like quite a while, and one sister gets out and the other sisters left in, and then they both eventually get out, but then their relationship is like struggling together, and then you find out, for all these trigger warning, sexual abuse that what's going on, and everything. And it's just really gut wrenching. My heart was like, oh, on the floor. I would say it is a solid documentary. There were some things kind of missing, some holes, and that just might be just access and what people could really uncover about this cult. There's some things I'm just really not really sure about, how this all started, how to get. I don't know, but I understand being a cult survivor myself. I won't say survivor like that. I didn't go through anything that treacherous. I went through some stuff, but I know what it's like to be in a cult, and some of the anatomy of a cult, and how this stuff works, and how you get hooked in. So a lot of it was relatable, even though I'm not a dancer, and even though it wasn't to the extreme level that this cult was. But I understand how this stuff happens and how you can fall prey. But it is an interesting documentary. It takes you on a nice little ride. It's solid. It's not anything I'm gonna say that's, once again, like groundbreaking, like the best cult story you ever seen. But it is fascinating and very interesting. And to this day, these sisters, there's still not much. It's not much they could do to save her. Like, she's still kind of wrapped up in this cult and stuff to this day, and they kind of take what they can get from her, what little interaction there can be. But you just got to go. You just got to experience the ride, and I'd be curious what you feel about it as well. Now, there were two movies that I recently watched on Netflix there through the months of June, and they both can go in the garbage. One was J Lo's Atlas, and the other was Jessica Biel's Trigger Warning. And warning is going to make you fall asleep. Let me tell you, Atlas. First of all, I don't know. You know how some people become, their real life persona kind of takes over everything. So you just see them in a different light in general. And Atlas, so it has J Lo And she's starring as Atlas Shepard. That's her name, a brilliant but misanthropic data analyst with a deep distrust of artificial intelligence, joins a mission to capture a renegade robot with whom she shares a mysterious past. But when plans go awry, her only hope of saving the future of humanity from AI is to trust it. So the story itself is not bad. Like, it's a good sci-fi thriller adventure. Um, so the CGI is pretty good within it and all that. But J Lo is just cringy to me. Something about her is just missing. And I think it's kind of like the real life J Lo getting into the acting J Lo. Like, she just has this scowl on her face the whole time with this character. And I get it's part of her character, but it's I don't know. It's pretty cheesy too in a lot of ways. She's just kind of fallen off for me, J Lo, a lot. So I don't know what she got to do to get her life together to, to to get me to enjoy her again. But to me, it just was not that enjoyable. Trigger warning: it stars Jessica Alba, and I was wondering where she been at. It also has Mark Webber; he's in it as well. But with this one, okay, it starts off not bad. Like, there's a decent action sequence, and she's a special forces commando, and she ends up returning home to her hometown after her father's sudden death, but only to run afoul of a violent gang when she starts asking questions. So she starts trying to figure out about his death and all these things, and then you find out it's the classic storyline of all these shady players, local kind of politics, and all these different things and games. It was just boring, y'all. I fell asleep so many times. I found myself just playing on my phone, just looking and going through, just forgetting that the movie was even on at points. I'm like, oh yeah, that's still here. Until it ends in the most bland way too, about 2 hours later or more. I mean, I do not recommend. 0 stars. Do not recommend. It was not it. Not it for me. I enjoyed Atlas more than I enjoyed Trigger Warning, but they both are pretty trash. So don't waste your time with those movies unless you just want to be bored too on your own. Now, what I'm currently watching, the first one is Supercell. I'm 4 episodes into this 6 episode miniseries. And this was on the 4th of July. Some friends recommended this, that they just watched it and stuff, and they really enjoyed it. So, Supercell is about a group of ordinary people from South London unexpectedly develop superpowers, and with no clear connection between them other than the fact that they're all black. And this is the black black superhero show, or I don't want to say superhero, but it's a black sci-fi adventure superpower show. And as they deal with the impact of their daily lives, one man has to bring them together to protect the one he loves, all while avoiding the powerful and nefarious agents that have noticed their special abilities. So this movie, though, it has some hitters. Like, you have Tosin Cole, who he's been in Star Wars. What was he in? The Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Unlocked. He's been in Doctor Who. He was in Bob Marley, One Love. You have my man Lamar, Eric Kofi Abrifa from he played Lamar in BMF. He was also in Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, Furry, Snowden. He's been in some things, and you have some other actors and actresses in here. Calvin Dimba, he's been in Kingsman. He's played in that. You have Nadine Mills, who plays Sabrina, who is one of the people with his superpowers as well. And she was in The Strangers. I do remember that, and some other things. So the acting, you have it there with this cast. And I think it's just something, y'all, representation does matter. It's something about, like, seeing just, it don't matter where they're from, just seeing black people on there just doing shows that are not the common, even though there's a gang like involved in this, and you have like the gangs like in South London, which is always interested in me to see the gangs outside of the US. But the superpower element, is pretty dope. And to have that, it reminds me of like a Black Lightning, kind of with having that and stuff. I just love seeing our people out there doing things and spreading our wings and getting a chance. So it's a show for everybody. I just hate whenever there is like a predominant Black cast that people just feel like it's only for Black people. And so the masses won't really watch it like that, or it won't get the recognition. Everybody should watch it. It is enjoyable to me. I'm still uncovering some layers and finding out. I still have some questions about the hows and whys and why everything is happening. And there's also this connection with sickle cell anemia, which we know is something that Black folks deal with. But that sickle cell anemia is kind of like a link to the superpowers and stuff that's happening. So I don't have all the answers yet because I'm still currently watching it, but and it starts a little slow, but I think that's everything. Like the first episode or two, you're kind of building and going, but there are moments within the episodes that are gonna keep you kind of coming back and questioning, like, oh, why did this happen, or like, what is this? It's always a hook kind of there that happens at the end of the episode that makes you want to keep watching and going forward. So I have about a couple more episodes to finish of that. I do recommend Supercell. I'm also watching Dear Child, which this is another miniseries. This is a German miniseries, and this one is a psychological thriller. So Lena lives in complete isolation together with the two children, Hannah and Jonathan, in a highly secured home. They eat their meals, go to the toilet, and to the bed at precisely prescribed times. As soon as he enters the room, they line up to show their hands. They obey. They want to make sure them hands are clean. You ain't doing nothing with them hands. They obey to everything he says until the young woman manages to escape. After a near fatal car accident, she is hospitalized, accompanied by Hannah, one of the kids. But the true extent of the nightmare is revealed when the arrival of Lena's parents at the hospital the same night arrive at the hospital the same night. They have been desperately searching for their missing daughter for almost 13 years. This one is interesting, and there are layers upon layers coming out. The daughter, okay, Miss Hannah is playing this role. She is one creepy ass child. You don't really know what the tea is about her, and I'm still getting there with that. And our brother Jonathan is there as well. I'm like, is Lena still alive? Is that her? Is this person really Lena, not Lena? What is going on? Um, so it's a good thriller. It's a good psychological thriller. The Germans, y'all did y'all thing with this one. It's pretty creepy. It's pretty tense. It's plot heavy. It's one that you definitely need to pay attention to if you're watching. But if you're into that psychological thriller, that kind of drama thing, I definitely recommend this miniseries here. That there are only 6 episodes, and apparently it's based off of international bestseller novel of the same title, Dear Child, which I have not read. So maybe some of you have read that before as well. And so we'll find a different kind of enjoyment in it as well. All right. The last thing that I'm currently watching right now is a Portuguese show. I believe it's filmed in Brazil, in Rio, called Desperate Lies. All right, this is like drama. This is giving me my old school, like Desperate Housewives, or like you want to go back in the day where anything like that type of drama going on. Yes, and so it's filmed in Brazil, and the synopsis for this is Liana, a woman who dreams of becoming a mother, ends up having her path crossed by events of high dramatic force, which affect her marriage with Tomas. This girl, all right, I've only watched the first episode. There's 17 episodes of this, and I'm in. I'm in for the ride. So her and her husband are having issues because she's had some miscarriages, and she's kind of like really strict with sex. And so there's no love, there's no passion. And you can tell that Tomas is not feeling it. They have a sex scene. As soon as the man, he releases, she's like, get off me. And she puts her legs like up in the air. She's trying to do everything she can to have this baby. She's only having sex whenever whenever she's fertile and all these things. So it's like on a timer. And you knew something was going on because he got off the computer real quick whenever she came in the room. She ends up seeing like a text message or something, and she goes through his computer and she finds these pictures of this woman, and they were like in this bike club or whatever together, like not motorcycle bikes, but like two biped bikes and some just pedaling bikes. Um, so she goes off, and then he goes off on her and talking about how there's no passion, no love, and this and that, and he ends up leaving, and they have this big fight. So he leaves. She ends up going out that night, and she connects with a guy that she knew from her childhood, who was one of the best friends of her brother, who is now deceased. That's a part of this story too. And she's friends with his sister. That's one of her closest friends. And the sister knows that he's been liking her and all this stuff. Basically, they end up getting together, but not in the way that you think, because he is a creep. And trigger warning, there's some sexual assault that happens, and he drugs her and he takes advantage of her and all this stuff. Yeah. But she ends up pregnant, and not pregnant with one, but two babies. And then she's like, oh my gosh, like, when did this happen? And she's thinking about the dates and the time, and she knows what went down. She's like, who baby is this? And the crazy thing is, she finds out that she is pregnant with twins, with one being from the husband and the other being from the Creek brother. They were twins that happened. They were fertilizations that happened at two different times, and they joined together. This is wild and crazy. And the show starts off with her having the babies. So you start off like in the present, and Tomas is there, and he takes, I think it was Tomas, or was it the other guy? I got to go back and remember now. No, it was Tomas. I want to say that was there. I believe it was. And she has the baby at home, and is all chaotic, and she's like in some shed, she's somewhere, and he helps her out. He finds her, and he pulls one baby out and takes care of that baby. But she's like, I got another one. She's like, another one is coming, but he like leaves her alone, and he just takes one son and kind of like puts him in the crib or whatever. I'm like, wow. But then we do a flashback, and we go to 8-9 months before to see what happened. So I'm in for this wild ride. The Portuguese shows, I think the last one I watched was like 3% or 2% or whatever it was, that had me in the chokehold for a little bit. They be putting out some good shows. Netflix, with your non-US shows, they be entertaining and good, and you should pay attention to them. If you don't watch some of the other shows outside of the US, they're actually very interesting. And I just end with, let me pull out my notes real quick. A few of the shows that I plan on watching, that I'm going to watch, is The Man with 1,000 Kids. That's going to be the next documentary little thing I watch on Netflix. I do remember some things about this story, but I'm really curious about this guy who was out there spreading his semen in all these places and ended up fathering 1,000 kids. Beverly Hills Cop, I want to see the recent one of that. I did start it one night, but then I was really sleepy. So I said, let me just do this another day. Worst Roommate Ever has a new season. And a lot of my friends, my Bravo chat friends, y'all been talking about Owning Manhattan. So that's on the list of things I'm going to watch too as well. So hopefully these Netflix recommendations help your summer go a little bit better and give you something to watch or something to talk about. Please comment if anything that you've seen that you enjoy or that you want to watch. Let me know what you think. And yes, I forgot to say, like, subscribe, share, do all the things. See you again on the couch, and stay tuned for the next video of other shows I'm watching outside of Netflix. Later.